Well, this movie isn't worth the transition. Navajo Joe and Mother Effers.
Yeah. Navajo Joe, Navajo Joe. How'd it go?
Navajo Joe.
Navajo Joe, Navajo Joe.
So this was also my fault. So last week we did The Untouchables, which had music by what was his name?
Enrico something. Marconi?
Yep, that's me. Ennio Morricone or
Ennio
Ennio Morricone.
Morricone. Okay.
And I said to myself, I've heard bits of the Navajo Joe soundtrack in other places before, and I could really hear the similarity. Oh, hey, it's a 90-minute movie. You can either stream it on Pluto TV if you're like me and don't have an Amazon Prime subscription, or on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Sidebar, Tubi is a much better service than Pluto TV. Pluto TV is kind of bogged down by the desire to show a lot of live television too. So at least on the Xbox app, whenever I access it, it's always kind of slow.
Oh, yeah.
Hard to navigate. I don't think they actually have at least on that app, they don't have a proper search feature. So I kind of had to know that Navajo Joe is there, and I had to scroll through the Westerns until it came up.
Oh, jeez.
I might have just missed it, but I'm never impressed every time I open that app. So if you're looking for free TVs and movies that are ad supported, Tubi is still the king.
Yeah. Yes, but this movie is not the king.
No. And it's kind of a shame because I think there's a decent concept here. It is and Arco Slot correctly identifies Morricone, at least the music is good, guided the soundtrack to the good, the bad, and the ugly, among many other movies, including Two Girls, One Cup, the TV show. As we discovered last week when we were looking up his curriculum vitae.
Yeah.
But this one is this is no fistful of dollars.
No, it isn't. Yeah, this is it's very low on the totem pole of spaghetti westerns.
Yeah, it's like a grindhouse western in terms of quality.
Yeah. So the basic plot of the movie, just to get into it,
if we must.
Yes. So Burt Reynolds plays our titular Navajo Joe, and he's tracking down and hunting down this gang of bandits who killed his settlement, and he ends up tracking them to this little town. I can't remember the name of it.
There were two towns in it. They both had Spanish names. Yeah. And basically what's going on with these bandits is that they had been paid to hunt down groups of raiders, but they did too good of a job and they cleared them all out. So now they're just randomly attacking and scalping innocent villages, which, as the sheriff of the town puts it, not exactly what we want you for.
Yeah, but then they the leader of the gang, his name is Duncan. He just like, nah, screw you, sheriff. Bang.
Yeah. And it occurs to me, we forgot the very low tension early scene where they see Navajo Joe tailing them, and he takes out a couple of the bandits by ambush.
Yeah, and they're just kind of standing around.
Like you have one guy who's trailing you. He's like, two guys can go up there. We're just going to stand around here and have a quick break and argument where we break in the fact that Duncan is a bastard and possibly a half-breed.
Yeah.
Does this information really come up? Not that I recall.
Not really. Yeah.
I think all it explains is that why he's an angry man who just wants to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
But what this really is, okay, so And then probably the most interesting subplot of the movie is the other villain who is the town's doctor, who basically decides that he can make use of these guys because he knows that they're hauling a shipment of cash on a train, uh, and he knows the combination. So
Mhm.
he decides to employ the gang to steal the train, and then he'll show up after the heat has died down, and they'll get a cut.
Yeah, and it's $500,000 in cash, which back then was a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately for them, they had these stage performers, ladies, who
Who might
overheard everything. Yes.
yeah, they heard everything, and one of them saw the doctor, so they're
Yeah.
able to they would be able to expose the scheme. So the most tension-filled part of the movie is one of them ends up getting shot, and she recognizes the doctor as he is treating her.
Yes. Yeah. And then the doctor, is like, oh, she didn't make it.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Yeah.
this could be it's kind of a problem where I kind of wish the doctor had been more of a physical threat rather than just being the mastermind, because this is not the sort of movie where the mastermind is actually all that useful.
Yeah. Yeah, and so but the scheme is foiled when Joe shows up and steals the train and then takes it into the town, and of course he the everybody in town finds out that these bandits are on their way to steal the money, and they of course they don't have any guns or any way to defend themselves, so they asked Navajo Joe to help him out, but he's like, I want $1 per everybody here for every bandit he kills.
Which that would also be a good haul.
Yes, it would. Um,
What really struck me as funny about this is that the sheriff seems totally unwilling to help out. He's like, "There's not a gun in town," he says, his gun belt clearly visible in the shot.
yeah. Well, you don't have a couple of shotguns in the at the police station.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's basically an excuse for Joe to go on a tear,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of back and forth. There's one character who I kept expecting to be more interesting, who was the piano player who was with the ladies of the evening, who
yeah,
I actually thought at first that, wait, did they get Willie Durante in this thing? Because he had the same sort of big nose.
yeah. I will say the only other actor I recognized, and it took me a while to figure it out, is the character of the Reverend.
Hmm.
The actor's name was Fernando Rey, and he was the bad guy in The French Connection.
Oh man, so a lot of actors slumming in this one.
Yeah. um, yeah, and of course another character we haven't mentioned yet is the housemaid of the doctor and his wife, who's also a Native American, and her name was Estella. And the entire time they're trying to set her up as a love interest for Navajo Joe, but it just never quite happened.
Yeah, it occurs to me that in this general discussion, we haven't actually talked very much about Joe as a character. That's because he really doesn't have one. He's violent, generally clever. He's a Native American, Navajo extraction specifically.
Yeah,
He is good at killing things. He is
and
angry.
he's
Did I already
angry.
mention
Yeah,
that he was angry?
yeah, yeah.
Um, he- his wife was killed
Yeah,
and bloodily scalped in the first scene.
yeah, yeah. That's about it. Don't know any. We don't know why he's called Joe. We don't know.
Yeah,
Like
they do call attention to the fact that it's weird that he's a Navajo guy named Joe. Like, not a lot of Navajos with that name, but he refuses to answer it.
yeah, and And of course, he makes a point that his people have been living in these hills for generations.
Right. Oh, I'm an American. Oh yeah, where my father lived here. My and his father and his father and his father. Where's your father from? Scotland. So who's really American here?
Yeah,
That was probably his best scene.
yeah, yeah. And by the way, in case anyone's wondering if there's any cultural appropriation, Burt Reynolds was actually part Native American. So
But was he specifically Navajo?
I believe he was Cherokee.
Okay, there are some jokes that I'm choosing not to make, considering that how many part Cherokee people there are.
Yeah, yeah. Although I always thought he was part Seminole, but I may have been mistaken.
Um, Well, at the very least, he sort of fit the part. He apparently did not intend to be in this movie. He thought that he was actually going to get a movie directed by the Fistful of Dollars guy.
Sergio Leone.
Yeah, like the director's first name is Sergio, and he thought he was getting the good Sergio,
Yeah,
but it
then
was
he
too late
wasn't.
for him to back out.
Yeah.
And you can see why, because there's nothing to this movie, unfortunately. There are like some decent action scenes. I'm sure some horses got very hurt in the making of this thing.
Yeah, they didn't care about that kind of thing in those days, especially in Italy.
Yeah, I mean, the two stunts that come to mind is where they club a horse with a log to knock him and the rider down,
Yeah.
and the other one where the bandits throw bolas into the legs of the two horses in a carriage and they fall over.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sloth says, yeah, it's a fistful of scalps with all the grindhouse movie logic expected. Lovely. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think the only reason that this movie has any memory is because of that. It has honestly an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like there's a like outside of the people shouting Navajo Joe, various things, the character does have a leitmotif that keeps playing through the movie,
Yeah.
and it carries so many scenes.
It
And
does. Yeah.
I occasionally watch these movies that just don't quite gel like this, and I go, "Am I the problem? Is this what people expect from westerns? What?"
Yeah. Well, we've watched enough westerns on this show that I think I can safely say no.
Yeah, no, this is just not a good rendition. So, yeah, I would say just go watch one of the Fistful of Dollars movies.
Yeah. Um,
Or
and
really,
yeah,
really any western with Eastwood.
yeah, yeah. Or John Wayne.
Yep,
Yeah.
different flavor.
Yes.